Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 4 versus 4 on Kreide, and I'm going to be playing with the 56th Air Assault Brigade. This game was absolutely spectacular, and it allowed me to show off a 4 versus 4 on Kreide after previously showing off a 3v3. But this one was way more intense than the last. Let's have a quick look at what we're getting down as the game is underway. So I'm going to be starting with 4 of these Spetsnaz GRU with the Stingers. Then we've got 4 Mi-8 MTVs with the Afghanci and Dush with the RPG-22s. And then we have the BMP-2D Razvedka coming in with the Motorrazvedka squads. Now Sato at the start here going to be coming in with the F-16s, and Commissar Krieg already has the F-104s. Flying about, manages to take out one of my Mi-8 MTVs. MiG-23 comes in for the interception onto the F-16 and prevents that from diving onto me, so really good job there. F-16 also gets shot down by the Stingers of the Spetsnaz GRU, and the second one also going to go down to the Spetsnaz GRU with the Stingers there getting the job done, and the MiG-23 actually survives, so really great start for me with 2 F-16s going down from the 2nd Panzergrenadier Division that we're going to be going up against today. With the Spetsnaz GRU here, they've got the 5HE Stinger with the 2,650 meter range versus helicopters, 2,300 against aircraft, with a 61% accuracy due to their veterancy. Really worked out well for us there, and we get off to a really nice start. Also, the Mi-8 MTVs able to hang about since a lot of those aircraft have now left and are no longer going to be a big threat. Now, the nice thing about the Mi-8 MTV is it does have the 20% ECM, making it able to survive much better against enemy aircraft than the standard Mi-8, which doesn't have any ECM whatsoever. It's also going to help me in this situation when I start to come under fire from the enemy Gepards. Then they're going to be pushing back my rocket helicopters. But my thick infantry squads up in front, one thing that's really nice about the 56th is they do get access to these chunky 14 strength shock squads, which have 12 AKS-74Us, oh sorry, just AKS-74s and 2 RPK-74s. Able to put a lot of pain onto the smaller squads very quickly indeed, especially at closer ranges. And I've also got the Afghanci here, which unfortunately we lost one of, with the RPO napalm launcher. So BMP-2 going to be able to get involved from a distance. The line of sight through these buildings is a little interesting because basically these trees don't completely block line of sight. So in this case I'm able to get the BMP-2D's 30 cal on target whilst my squad engages the Fallschirmjägers, forcing those Fallschirmjägers to fall back. It does also mean that he can do the same as the 2 Gepard 1A1s and the Scimitar help engage my Dush squads. Another Mi MTV arriving to unload some infantry. We get them down nice and quick. Of course, got to be careful about those Gepards, so had to unload a little bit further back there. And Chaika's now arrived to capture this sector, as I didn't bring in a leader at the start of the game. But you're on the way to resupply my infantry. My Mi-8s that were damaged are going back to get some repairs from the field depot back here, and also obviously some rocket resupply. Bronca's on the way, and Mi-8 MT going to be coming to the front line to provide me with some forward supply. But at the moment things are pretty chill. I managed to get myself into a really good position in the town early on, and now we've just got to try and utilize our position, particularly from these high rises, to get into the edge of Sato's sector here. Also got this recon on the left hand side. This one's pretty important because it's in the high rise. It's able to see on this ridge, prevent us from being flanked. In this version of the map as well, you'll notice that there isn't this sort of side point where you can reinforce. In the 10v10 version there's like another point here where you can reinforce from, same on the other side, but in this version of the map there is not. So just trying to get as much units into position as possible and then just figure out a way to get across the gap here, because This area, there's like a tiny sort of gap between the buildings where you can take a lot of damage if you're not too careful. Striker, going to be moving that up. The reason I'm moving that forwards, give leadership to these infantry and allow them to recover from their cohesion loss quicker, so I can get them back in the fight. M8 there, cheeky shot onto the Fallschirmjäger, unfortunately a little bit too cheeky, as the Gepards do manage to shoot it down after the fact, and the M8 crashes into the city. But M8 MTV has, or M8 Cargo has arrived. I did get a question the other day about, I saw about scaling. Now I have unit scaling turned on, so when I'm zoomed out, things look bigger than they actually are. It's like, for example, this M8 MT, it's not actually that big, and as you zoom in, the model will get smaller and go more to like real size. So it's perfectly capable of sort of landing in there, whereas when I zoom all the way out, it looks like it's absolutely huge. Anyway, Mi8 MTV going to be able to land next to that Mi8 MT to get some resupply now, and that's going to basically allow me not to have to fly all the way back to base in order to get more supply. Also, I don't want to be completely draining Warm Cone Head's supply back there throughout this game. So Urals arrived, getting the Dush squads back up to full strength. We're going to start to try and push forwards a little bit. I've got the Dush Motorradvodka on the right hand side that are going to be trying to creep through here and get eyes on things, because at the moment, even though I've got loads of recon in position, I can't see much at all. I can see the Milan 2 here, I can see the Fallschirmjäger moving over on the left hand side, but this Motorradvodka is not seeing anything. I've got the BMP 2 here that's not seeing anything. We've got basically all of the Spetsnaz GRU squads spread out, which have good optics as well. Well, they technically have very good optics. And the Razvedka, yeah, none of them are seeing or anything. So I was thinking, you know what, it's probably pretty safe for me to move forwards, but the BMP does end up getting killed off. Afghansi tries to go for the Milan there, but that gets out just in time. MI MTVs are just going to be sitting back for the time being, waiting for an opportunity to move forwards and rocket things. And meanwhile, yeah, the Conkers got into position in the high-rises. They're going to be trying to hit any transports that we find, so the M113s in this case, with that artillery coming in. Kind of decide just to move forwards here, as there's no point in letting the Spetsnaz GRU get killed for free. But with the Panzer Grenadiers arriving, that is going to be quite a large amount of units I'm going to be going up against. Basically quad Panzergrens. But here come the Mi8 MTVs. And this was actually really, really well timed. So there's Fallschirmjäger, quadruple Panzergren, and they're going to be unleashed on with these rockets. And all of them, almost all of them, get taken out in very, very quick succession. So that was a huge amount of reinforcements that Sato invested in. And just in time, I get the rockets down. The Gepards come back up to force back the Mi8 MTVs. It's just a little too late for them. So really, really good engagement for me, taking out some of his infantry. The reason the Gepards weren't there is because my Conkers had forced him to retreat those earlier. You can see again Sato being really, really cautious here as the Conkers try and engage them once again. So we timed it perfectly. We got the rockets on target. My infantry is falling back because of all of the artillery that's coming in. My Razvedka can't stay in position because it's being shot at by the Gepards as well still. But yeah, cheeky engagement. That is only the start of what turns into a very, very bloody battle. So now I'm thinking to myself, why haven't I brought in a T-62 just yet? So T-62 MDs are on the way, and they will be able to help me potentially kill the Gepards a lot quicker than the Conkers otherwise would. The Conkers, they're going to get killed off by the artillery anyway over time, and there's not really much chance for me to avoid that because those are M110s, and they are able to knock out two-man squads with one shot. So unless I have like Superman reactions, I'm not going to really be able to get them out of there in time. Especially when I'm already microing other units across the map. At least the BMP-2D here is able to get 3 shots onto the Fallschirmjägers. That was nice. And we've got a fresh unit of Motorradwerker in the way to prevent Panzergrenz from making too much ground. But more Motorradwerker on the way. The reason I was using these Motorradwerker a lot was so that I had access to the BMP-2Ds, because in this sort of situation where you're fighting in an urban environment, having an APC that has its own recon is really, really important. It's like the reason that I really, really enjoy using the recon Bradleys, because they're able to kind of spot for themselves. And of course you still have to be careful about enemy HGMs, but when you're playing on the pack side, like a lot of enemy infantry squads don't have AT unless you're up against the Americans. So in terms of these Fallschirmjägers, they have no way to kind of reach out and kill the BMP-2D, so they're able to just sit there and freely hit these infantry, and Sato's going to be forced to fall back, which then opens up the ability for me to potentially move forwards with my other infantry squads. I am going to be bringing in a laser guided bomb there. That's going to give me a free Fallschirmjäger kill on the left hand side. The Gepard's still in full force though, so can't have that hanging about for too long. I did end up losing another Spetsnaz GRU to the enemy artillery. That artillery is still going to be a problem throughout the game, so I am going to have to make sure that I keep my infantry relatively mobile and don't stay in the same place for too long, because otherwise everything's going to end up like my Conquers squads, where they just get flattened by that artillery over time, and then that will kind of build up to the point where he can push me in really, really easily. What I'm going to do here, we're going to get the Mi-8 MTVs back into a position where I can maybe take on these Panzergrenz. And in doing so, kind of make a bit more ground into that sector. And the Gepard here gets some good shots on target. I'm forced to land the Mi-8 MTV just to stop that from being shot at. And meanwhile, I'm trying to drive up the BMP-2D on the right-hand side to kill off the Gepards, or at least force them to fall back, which they do swiftly afterwards. So BMP-2Ds firing in from multiple directions right now, and that's exactly what we want to see. The other reason to land these helicopters, you might have noticed I landed this one even though it's full health, is because those tornadoes are hanging about. Yeah, the BMP-2D is providing plenty of 30 cal or 30 mil fire support, and slowly but surely chipping away at these squads. And this Mi-8 MTV gets a little bit lucky there, as the Gepards get forced back by my rocket strike coming in. But in this deck, I only have 1 grad now. But it's really good for situations where you need to like pin down enemy units whilst you're attacking. So in this case you can see that I've used the rocket strike. I've tried to pin down all of the units that were in that area, and now we're making a little bit of a play with the Motorradwerker backed up by the BMP-2Ds to get into the edge of this sector. I've also got the Spetsnaz GRU and the Dush coming in as well. I've got an Afghansky up close. That's going to be able to provide enemy infantry fire support, and then also take down any helicopters that we find. There was a BO-105 that came in earlier, but that just got popped by the slinger of one of these Spetsnaz GRU. You'll notice that I have actually turned off the ASVAL on the Spetsnaz GRU so they don't reveal themselves from now on, so that I can use them basically as anti-air with high veterancy. And also, like, the RPG-27 is useful for killing off enemy tanks that get too close, because that thing has like 21 penetration and fires at 25 rounds per minute. Crazy. And with the Gepards falling all the way back, the Mi-8 MTV has time to get plenty of rockets on target, and it's spreading those all over the place. End up actually stunning the Gepard, allowing the Mi-8 MTV to do a runner. The Leopard 105 goes down. My Mi-8 MTV manages to go away just in time. But you'll notice on the right hand side here I'm starting to push up with the T-62s, so we're starting to kind of try and envelop the town a little bit and prevent reinforcements from coming down this road using the Bastion missile that T-62MD has access to. Also, I do want to try and kill the Gepards if I can, and I did manage to just take one out then, and the T-62s can also provide really good fire support onto enemy infantry. In this case we actually even managed to get an M2A2 Bradley kill on the right hand side. So things going relatively well. Unfortunately this Motorradvedka in a bit of a sticky spot, so that's just going to end up going down. But the BMP-2 is still providing decent fire support. Only one left though. Another one going to be on the way. A lot of my infantry and such is getting low, so I've got the Ural coming back here to get some supply from the Mi-6A, which has managed to park itself somehow amongst all of this. That looks wild. When I like zoom out, it goes through the buildings because of the unit scaling I was talking about. Bastion missile is actually going to end up killing an M48A2, which was nice. But more and more infantry has found its way into the town here, this time including Commissar Krieg, who's backing up Sato a little bit here with some extra infantry. I do have a MiG-27 hanging about. That's looking for a good opportunity to annihilate something with its guided 500 kilogram bomb. Now I was trying to get my Dush squad back to my supply so that I could unload them and fix them up, but the M110 was aimed obviously at the road and killed it, and I didn't even realise that was happening until it was too late. But Mi-8's gonna get another great rocket strike on target here. My Dush engaging, and then the rockets just flying out of those Mi-8s and absolutely wrecking those squads. Also T-62 fire support coming in from the main guns and the machine guns. Works out really, really nicely. So some fresh squads arriving, the Afghansi. And the Gepard does have a go, but whilst they're landing, they get out of line of sight, so that works out well. And yeah, the high strength Dush squad slowly finishing off those Panzergrens with the help of the T-62s. Cheeky rocket strike just hits the mark there to take out one more of the Panzergrens. Just going to be allowing these to fire as the Heimatjägers have been brought up to reinforce, and we'll wipe them out nice and quickly. So in this case, just going to be moving them all the way back. I do have another Mi-6 back here that was being used to reload my grad. So I'm going to send the Mi-8 MTVs back to that, since all of these Urals on the front line are really there to resupply the infantry and not the helicopters. Also, landing helicopters this far up is going to make them vulnerable to artillery and enemy anti-air. Now both my T-62s on the right here end up getting killed off. I did send up a couple of units to help try and reinforce this for Tommy. They end up going down, so that was a bit unfortunate. These two T-62s are going to come back, get some resupply on those Bastion missiles, and they'll be able to push up on the right hand side once again. So we're slowly but surely making progress. We're starting to get infantry into this sector at least, which does kind of get to the point eventually where we might be able to, you know, contest this with a leader. But as long as there's this much infantry in our way, we're going to have to find another way to like deal with things. So my MiG-27 coming in with the laser guided bomb to hit this Siderung's infantry on the backside, and we're going to blow up both of those nice and easy. And then I've got the Grad firing away, which is hoping to kill off these three Milan 2 squads. So the Milan 2s go down, and the rest of the infantry will be taking some damage, but also mainly cohesion loss, allowing my own infantry to try and make some ground. So lots and lots of rockets being used in this game. And so far it's worked out quite nicely. We've made it to the point where Sato's can't really get the Gepards in a good position without being shot at by the Conkers, thanks to me owning the high rises. The Jäger Aufkader, they're going to take rockets and die. Going to try and move forwards just a little bit more to try and get shots onto the Schizerungs and the Heimatjägers. We're going to be able to finish off some of those as well. And these are the reinforcing MI8s that went back and got resupplied by the MI6. So I'm just spreading these out, waiting for a good moment to use them. Gepard's going to just shift forwards there. No time for me to pull that one back as it was way too close. Yeah, just going to shift these back. And now the T-62s are going to start to push the flank again. Unfortunately, this infantry, no real chance for them to escape this time around because the fire support coming in from the Leopard 1A5s was quite substantial. The T-62s should be able to defeat the Leopard 1A5s at range. Sato, I think, realizes that, so he's going to be backing them up. The third T-62 makes its way to the right-hand side there. I've also brought myself in a T-62 leader that is hopefully going to be the unit to contest the opposing sector here, but I am going to need some infantry support for it, so that's where all of these Dush with Metis come in handy. They're coming in with the BTR 70 AGS. The 56 does get some really cool BTRs. In this case, the one with the grenade launcher on top, which is pretty nice. But you can get BTRs with rocket launchers on top, which would be even more wild considering how many rockets I've used already. The only trouble with the rocket ones is they don't really have that good infantry options. The MI6 is used up, so that's just going to go back and be sold. This MI8 is going to try and move its way forwards a little bit, give me some extra supply. Urals are trying to fix up all of my squads that are remaining on the front line. And we've got the MI8s kind of just hanging at the back ready to be used when we make this push. Yeah, T-62 is able to hold the flank with the Bastions at range, which is working out quite nicely for us. Warm Conehead starting to push through pretty hard with the T-64 B1s here. He actually managed to get all the way into his opposing sector, which is giving us the +2 at the moment. So starting to put pressure on the right flank there as well. Afghansi easily take care of Heimatjägers. So as they fall back, the T-62 going to move into the sector here and start contesting this as well. Sato's 1A5s are going to have a go at the T-64 B1s. And unfortunately, Warm Conehead there really getting caught out by those Leopard 1A5s and the infantry at close range. 3 of the 4 T-64s going down. But I've managed to get into this sector at least. And him losing those tanks is kind of inconsequential to whether or not he controls the offensive sector on his side, so it wasn't as big of a deal. But here comes my cluster mortar. And that's going to be hitting some supply there. You'll notice that I have now brought these in. They're really, really strong, these mortars. I didn't want to abuse them too much in this game, so I brought them in quite a bit later on. That was a first successful strike for them. Right now the BTR 70 is coming around the corner with those grenade launchers up ready. Dush Metis with those Metis launchers going to be able to rip through Leopards and M113s at close range. And the Heimat taking a lot of damage there as the KPVTs get on target, the grenade launcher gets on target. Just got to spread them out, make sure they don't get all bombed in one go or something, and then we're good. Meanwhile, T-62s using their bastions on the M13s. There's a good chance Sato was doing this on purpose to make me use up a lot of the HGMs, but I did have the Ural here ready to resupply, so we're just going to move that up. Tornado almost getting taken down, but not quite. Yeah, the Metis now pushing forwards. We're going to be able to help take out some of these M13s. Enemy mortar fire coming in. Now we've got a big engagement going on as Sato's Panzergrenz start advancing on the town. The M48s are coming in from Kommissar Krieg. We've got the 1A5s that are going to be able to engage at a distance. We're just continuing the pressure. Really awesome fight starts to come about. BTR-17 is bringing them out to the right-hand side to engage the Panzergrenz. Artillery did start coming down on the T-62. We had to back that up. The M110s can kill tanks very quickly indeed. These are the perfect vehicles for destroying this infantry at range. They really are. Panzergrenz dying before they even get to the town. Now going to be bringing in a couple of laser guided bombs. Couldn't quite get like direct targets. I probably should have just targeted a couple of infantry. But we're going to sling a couple bombs and hope they hit the mark, and unfortunately they didn't. Both of them are going to get taken out. A little bit of a mistake on my part as the Eyehawks have now come into play. But Dish holding the line best they can. These guys able to get their RPG-22s on target to take out some of the M48s. We've got artillery coming in from Warm Coneheads grads. We've got cluster artillery coming in from the mortars. The backside of this town getting absolutely minced. I'm even going to get some rockets on target as I bring in more Afghansi. Just hoping to kill off that Gepard. You can see that all my MTVs are going to focus the Gepard down, and that way we can finish rocketing the rest of the stuff. Now it does smoke itself off, and there's still 20 mils around, so kind of have to stop that. But the cluster mortars coming in there are going to level the backside of the neighborhood and any armor that was left in position. And we're almost at the point where we have cleaned them out completely as the Gepard goes down. So really intense push through this suburban area. Look how many wrecks and fires and all sorts is going on in here. Crazy stuff. We managed to kill another Leopard 105. Conkers are already on the way to set up on the edge of the town. It's pretty important that I had those ready to go so that we could prevent any counter push coming back into the town. So I've got one over on this left hand side. We're going to have a couple on the edge of the town at the front. And the rest of my infantry can kind of slowly but surely move into position. Anything that's damaged we can eventually fix up with my supply, which has been hanging around the entire time. Yeah, what a crazy engagement that really was, because the thing is, it was like Sato was pushing in with his reinforcements at the same time as I was pushing through, and it just became this like big old fight as both sides were trying to get like artillery superiority, which we ended up with in our favor. That's going to be the cluster mortars coming in again there just to try and clear out that tree line. We're also going to be able to get the Conkers on target of the Panzer mortars as we start to hit a lot of the support units on the backside. This is the great thing about having your HDGM units ready to take advantage of a position you've just captured, because they can reach out and really touch the backline units very well. Gepard's fallen back. Still have eyes on them though, so a great target for the cluster mortars, and if I can take out the cluster mortars, then the MIA MTVs will have free reign to push forwards once again. But as you can see, there is 10 minutes left on the clock. We're sitting on a +3, having taken both this center offensive sector and my offensive sector on the left hand side. And here comes the cluster. Really hoping that that hits the mark. Only has a little bit of time to react as those come down. But really, really good. Hit the mark there nicely. Job well done. Dush squads making ground, actually going even further into these tree lines. The reason we can get away with that is because we're covered by these conkers. So it's not like they can use tanks and such to engage this infantry as they move forwards, as the conkers will outrange those tanks. So it's all working out nicely. Urals are going to come together here and help resupply anything that's damaged. Meanwhile, more MITVs getting into position. And you'll notice over on this left-hand side, I've actually used the MTVs to pick up the conkers and the motorized to move them forwards. This isn't something that I think people do enough. Like, particularly if you do end up making a strong push like this, there's no reason why you shouldn't just like reuse these transport helicopters to shift your stuff to the front line. So in this case, motorized I'm going to be able to move way further forwards. We've got the conkers that's going to be able to put itself in this tree line. And there's basically nothing here that's going to be able to stop me from doing that after we took out both of those Gepards and the 20 mil earlier. So really, really great game using the helicopters, using the rockets. F-104 trying to take out the Mi-8 MTV, but it survives mainly due to the fact it had 20% ECM, otherwise that was long gone. A bit of a rocket strike as they land. But we'll unload those units and we'll see that that is an Ihawk. Ihawk without any ammo. My MTV will finish it off, no problem. As the Conkers launches 80 gems into the distance. And now we've got the T-62s that are going to be able to get into position. Unfortunately, I kind of ran out of supply on the Urals. I didn't really have enough to completely resupply everything, so you'll notice like a lot of my stuff is kind of low on ammo and low on health. So that is one thing that kind of plagues this division a little bit, is kind of lack of supply. But another Mi-6 on the way. That's going to be the third and final Mi-6 that I have access to, with an Mi-8 and a couple more Urals, just to try and finish fixing up stuff on the front line. A couple SU-25s coming in there to lay waste to the Leopard 1A5s, but not quite able to get the job done, and one of them did end up getting shot down because of it. But back we go with the Mi-8s. I'm going to be sending them all the way back to Conehead's supply depot. That's just because this new supply that's coming in is going to be used for the front line. So I'm starting to bring in some helicopters that can assist on the right, you know, since we've basically secured the left and there's no more sectors for us to push for. We might as well help try and secure on the right as Grim Guy makes a play on that side. My MiG-23 going to come in there and take down an F4F. The helicopters are well on their way. We've got the MiG-27K-AT1s coming in. Those are going to be looking for Leopard kills, either Leopard 1A5, Leopard 2A3. Unfortunately, Mirage 2000s on the backside, going to force off one of the MiG-27s. And it's going to kind of prevent me from going too deep with the other MiG-27. At least able to get a missile on target there, that because those Mirages were so close together, affected them both. Did end up losing one of my MiG-23s, but we're going to take down the F4F in reply. As a second MiG-23 goes down, but that's just because we're kind of YOLOing stuff on this right hand side. There's only 1 minute left on the clock till we win the battle. So Sato's got to make a move on this left hand side. It's going to be very, very difficult with all these Metis squads spread out. The T-62s with their Bastion missiles, the Gonkers set up, even if they don't have any ammo at the moment. That's just because we're kind of waiting for the Urals to get into position to resupply them. But we've got Mi-8's MT Esquadrons on the way. Mi-24P anti-air and the Mi-24P with the Kokon. Plan was to kind of bait out with the Mi-24P here, get the Mi-24P with the Kokon missile on top of the Roland there. able to do a decent amount of damage though, help rocket down and clear up a lot of that. Those units on the right hand side. MI24P going for the last Kokon round, but that's going to be it. That's victory. And what a intense game it was on that left hand side. 35 minutes 30 seconds. Quite a decisive victory really, but the amount of rockets that were thrown about in that game was absolutely ludicrous. 5,895 kills to 3,715 in the end. Conehead also doing fantastically well with a very nice KD with 6,980 kills. But if we look at the kills and losses, you'll notice how much damage the MI8 MTVs did. Killing like 5 units of infantry in this case. This one killed 3. My laser guided bombs could have done a lot better. They didn't really get many good targets throughout that game. Grads though, triple Milan 2 kill. Sato probably shouldn't have had them all in the same building, to be honest, but good kills nonetheless. T62 sitting on the flank there, doing a great job, making sure I'm covering the open ground with those tanks. Then we brought in the clusters quite later on. Did get those 2 Gapards, which opened up us able to do like a forward drop there with the MI8s, which is pretty cool. Yeah, fun game with the 56th on the new map, showing off 4v4. When you have more players on the same map size, it does get way more intense. So you might have noticed that from the 5th Panzer game to this 56th one. The 5th Panzer game though, still worth checking out if you missed it. But that's all for now. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.